for the 14th of March 1955 signalled his arrival into this world as the firstborn to Mum Josie and Dad Joe. And it was to transpire that he was to be joined by 6 further siblings in Kevin, with whom he is with right now, and then Karen, David, Sean, Alan and Anthony. After around 3 years living in the Highfields area of the city, the family moved to Braunston, where Ken's educational years were spent at Christ the King before progressing on to English Martyrs. Although the eldest, there was much nodding in agreement when Karen explained about how her big brother looked after her, and with her saying, he was just great. And there are some early memories of Kenneth being glued to his mum in the kitchen as she prepared, if memory serves me right, the world's best soda bread and many other culinary delights, because you all were well looked after, weren't you? And there were those memories of those Saturday mornings with Ken spent with his dad, listening to Jim Reeves. And I know that each of you will have your own childhood memories. After leaving his educational years behind him, a young Kenneth signed up and became a member of the Armed Forces, becoming a very proud member of the Mercians before the Line Infantry Regiment of the Royal Hampshires. And I was fascinated to learn, and I'm forever grateful to him and his compatriots when I learned that Kenneth served throughout the world. And in a career spanning some 13 years, he served during the Falklands conflict in Northern Ireland and completing his service in Germany. So Ken, I really do salute you, sir. And it was during one of these tours abroad, that during a period of leave, did this great man, A, spend his time relaxing on some beach somewhere warm, or B, spend it taking on the Koreans at their national sport and in their very own backyard. Now, I have to admit that I had to do a little bit of research online when I read on Facebook that Ken took them on at the martial art of Hapkido, as I'd never heard of it. So for the uninitiated, it is Korea's take on a form of self-defence which, and thank you Wikipedia for this, which employs joint locks, grappling, throwing techniques, kicks, punches and other striking attacks. Although, to quote Kenneth himself, when asked what the rules were, his answer was, you get disqualified if you kill your opponent. And not only did Kenneth take on the Koreans at this, he only went and beat them at their own game. In fact, he was only the 5-time World Supreme Champion. And what's even more amazing is that no one, not even members of his own family, knew that he was even doing it, let alone coming back as a champion. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'd have won something like that, I would have shouted it from the rooftops. But not our Ken. Oh no. He never said a single dicky bird. And it was only when those newspaper articles surfaced that everyone discovered just what a champion he was. And those newspaper clippings are a really important historical document in your family's history, and I know you'll treasure them for always. and as fragile as they are now, I've been massively privileged to have been allowed to read them, one of which I have been given the family's permission to share with you now. And the headline reads, "He's the European, World and Supreme Champion. In short, the greatest King Ken." And it reads as follows: "If Corporal Ken Birchall were a boxer, golfer or tennis player, he would probably be a millionaire by now. Ken is a European, World and Supreme Champion of Hapkido, a Korean variation of karate. A physical training instructor with the 1st Royal Hampshire Regiment at Munster. 23-year-old Ken recently won the World Championship for the 2nd year running. He was given a hero's welcome by the regiment when he returned from Toronto, where the championships were held. The CO's staff car was waiting for him at the airport, and he was taken on a victory parade around the battalion's Munster barracks. Our picture, and make sure you get to see this at some point, shows Ken being chaired by some of his mates in Zulu company. His victory in the Supreme Championships was something out of the destroyer. Ken, who comes from Leicester, first became interested in Hapkido at the age of 14 when he saw the sport on television, and he joined the army 5 years ago. And the article ends with this, which I think is a bit of journalistic genius. Ken has 2 more important dates on his calendar this year. In October, he gets married, and in November, he will be at the Crystal Palace in London to defend his European title. And no one knew. That just shows what a completely humble and modest and completely unassuming man which he was. Qualities which he displayed throughout his life. He didn't have to shout anything from the rooftop. I can just imagine the embarrassment he must have felt when, in another of those articles, he was guest at a champagne-flavoured victory parade. I don't think that would have been him at all. And as you may be aware of, those nations from South Asia have humility and respect embedded into their very DNA. And as a result, Kenneth was very much accepted as one of their own. And he was taken very much to their hearts. And again, there's another much treasured photograph of Ken inspecting a traditional Korean hat along with the craftsman who had just completed it. As the caption reads, the very detailed work involved. And how on earth did he manage to keep all that to himself? However, as that article alluded to from earlier, not only did he have the date in his calendar when he was to defend his European title, but he also had that important one of his impending marriage. You see, when Kenneth was 28 and in the NAFI at the barracks base in Lichfield, also there was a beautiful young lady who went by the name Elaine, and who clearly took a right shine to our Kenneth. In fact, Elaine did say to one of her friends, "I'm having him." And they say that romance is dead. Well, never a truer word was said, and their daughter, Sadie, was to arrive in 1985, which signalled the end of Kenneth's military career, as he took to becoming a dad with some consummate ease. The 27th of September 1986 saw Kenneth and Elaine become Mr. and Mrs. Birchall at their marriage in Liverpool at St. Brewham's. Again, for the uninitiated, was the name coined for the registry office there. And the rest, as they do indeed say, is history. Joining Sadie was their son, Jack, with the generations subsequently being expanded by the addition of grandchildren, Luca, Ronnie and Senan. And of course, God willing, on the 9th of July, we'll see another member of the Birchall clan in Jack's son, Rogan. And we all wish you the very best with his arrival, my friend. So could there ever be any better legacy for any man to leave than to have such a wonderful family following you on in your footsteps? So Ken, I really do salute you again, sir. I've already said that this man was the consummate dad, so it will come as no surprise to any of you when I tell you, to quote directly from Elaine's words, he was a fantastic husband. And Elaine shared with me that he would do anything for his wife and kids. And he loved all the kids to absolute bits. When he was discharged from his military obligations, Kenneth undertook an HGV course, which took him on the roads as a long-distance lorry driver, something at which he grafted at for over 20 years, before coming down a class, which meant that he was more local.